Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Are We on the Same Page? I decided to start a new feature. I just finished my feature on the history of inventions. I did what I considered 100 of the greatest inventions of all time, and I divided history into six eras from the Stone Age to the present. And now I'm going to do what I said I wasn't going to do. I'm going to try to predict the future, but it's based on a lot of what I already know about science and technology, and I studied physics for about 20 years, and I have a PhD in math and a master's in physics, and I know a lot of theory, so I kind of know a lot of possible theoretical inventions, which I think we could have. In the next, by the end of the 22nd century. So, anyway, that's a little overview. And today I'm going to talk about, I'm dividing history, the 21st and 22nd century into four different periods. I'll get into that in a minute. But the video I'm going to do today is just on the very near future, which I'm defining as this year, 2025, until the end of the middle of the 21st century, which would be the end of 2049. So the next 25 years, basically. I'm going to talk about five, I think, inventions we can expect to get by the end of this century. And I think these are very, very likely we'll get them because we're already working on them now. As a matter of fact, we already have kind of prototypes for all these inventions. So anyway, let's begin. As usual, I want to give a plug for my book first. I have a book that's been out for the last year and a half. It's called My Spiritual Journey. I spent about a year and a half writing it. It's a 100-page book, and it's mostly one-line quotes about how to live a good life and also, various aspects of what I think are important in life and how they pertain to a lot of my views about spirituality. Anyway, I think you'll enjoy it, and it's available on Amazon. It's $9 for Kindle and $30 paperback, and you can search for it on Amazon. Just search for my pen name, Dave Thomas Rocker, and I think you'll enjoy it. Anyway, that's a plug for my book. And now let's get started with today's video. So, like I said, I'm dividing the next 175 years, I guess, the next 175 years into the future, which will take us to the end of the 22nd century. And I decided to, these are kind of unimaginative names. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. I mean, when you get right down to it, nobody can predict the future. We can kind of predict some things about what we might expect, but we can't discount the possibilities, the unexpected. And it's interesting to note that sci-fi writers have been trying to predict the future for at least 100 years, and they've usually been wrong. I mean, it's kind of interesting. Everybody thought we were going to have flying cars by now. I think in the mid 20th century, most people thought the world would look like the Jetsons today. Well, it doesn't. We don't have flying cars. People aren't living in space. Science and technology is proceeding in a different direction than we imagine. Instead of having, being a big space-faring species, we're more grounded on Earth, but we still have some amazing computer technology that I don't think anybody could have predicted the mid 20th century. So, I'm probably going to be wrong about a lot of my predictions, but I'm going to do my best to try to predict what I think will happen in the next 175 years. And it'll be interesting to see how many of the inventions I predict we'll get during each of these four eras actually, take place. And I think it's going to be harder, and harder to predict the further into the future we go. But anyway, these are the four eras. The very near future I'm defining as being from 2025 to 2049. Next 25 years. And I think most of you will probably live through this era as long as we don't destroy the planet, which we're in very big danger of doing, either through climate change or through nuclear war or whatever. I mean, barring catastrophe, I think we can expect to see in the next 25 years what I'm going to predict. And let's just hope we don't destroy ourselves. I mean, it's not just a matter of technological advancement, it's a matter of advancing as a species ethically and morally and spiritually as well. So keep that in mind too, you know. Um, anyway, so then the next year after that is going to be what I call the near future. That's going to take us from 2050 to 2099. In other words, the latter half of the 21st century. And I think some of the young people on this channel will probably live through a lot of this part of the 21st century. Some of you might even make it all the way through. I mean, if people still keep getting living longer, they were for a long time. If that keeps happening, then I think we can expect that a lot of people will completely flip through the near future as well. I don't think I will. I'm already 62 years old. I think I'll be lucky if I make it to the end of the very near future. Anyway, and then the distant future. That this is going to be the first half of the 22nd century, 2100 to 2149, and I don't think very many people watching this today will live through this entire year. Maybe none of you will. I don't know. Depends on how long people are living. And finally, the very distant future, we can be pretty certain that nobody watching today will be alive to see this, unfortunately. But and then I think I should just make a comment about these pictures. I took these from the web, and these are all kind of sci-fi views of the future. And just to explain a little what's going on, the top left, this doesn't look too much different from today. This is just a large city with a lot of large skyscrapers, and some cities already look kind of like this. But I think we can expect to see a lot more big cities like this in the near future. Just more big buildings. But I don't think any of us are going to be living, or very few of us are going to be living in outer space. But I think in the following three eras, I think a lot of us will. For instance, the picture I show on the for the near future, this is supposed to be a vision of a Mars colony in the near future. So we might have people living on Mars, and we might. It also shows what looks like a hyperloop on Mars, and a little. This is kind of a big colony. It almost looks like a city on Mars. So we probably will have something like this. I think by the latter half of this century, there'll be a fair number of people living on Mars. I won't be. I think most people are still going to be living on Earth, but I think we will begin our colonization of Mars, and we'll have a new world to live on, which will be kind of nice. And the gravity's a lot less on Mars too, so it'll be easier to get around. They have about 1/3 Earth's gravity. And then the distant future here, this picture I show is a picture of the inside of a space colony. It's not my favorite design of a space colony. There's different proposed designs. My favorite are the O'Neill cylinders. This one isn't an O'Neill cylinder. It's more of a torus shaped, like a donut, a big donut. And I guess everybody living on the surface, on the edge, would feel ordinary gravity. Kind of that's why I like the O'Neill cylinders better, because the gravity is variable on those. But I think we can expect to see a lot of space colonies, not just people living on surfaces of planets like Mars. This is what Isaac Asimov called planetary chauvinism. This kind of prejudice that we think we have to live on the surface of a planet. We don't. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of advantages of living on man-made colonies. So I think we can expect a lot of man-made space colonies in the early 22nd century. I was hoping we'd have them by now, actually, when I was a teenager. Gerard O'Neill thought we'd have the first of these by 1988. Obviously, that didn't happen. And it looks like we'll be colonizing Mars before we actually build these space colonies. And then the last picture here, I don't know where this is supposed to be. Some distant planet. It could be even be on another star system. I wouldn't be surprised if people are not even, if people are living on other star systems. Maybe we'll have colonized Alpha Centauri by then. And maybe we'll be living on some distant planet on another star system. And that'd be pretty cool. Of course, it would take light a long time to travel back to Earth, but maybe we won't, maybe the people living there won't care about communicating with us so much. They'll be in their own new world. So we don't know what to expect. And I'm not going to try to go beyond 2199 because I just think I can't even imagine what kind of technologies we'll have by the 23rd century and beyond. I'm not even going to try. But anyway, that's just an overview of these eras coming up. And let's begin with the very near future. So, again, I'm counting them down, but I only did five. So, this is what I think will be the fifth most important invention of the next 25 years. And I'm pretty sure we're going to have this a Mars colony. I mean, we know that Elon Musk has been, getting people to sign up for a one-way trip to Mars for the last 10 years or so, and I think that will happen. I mean, people have already signed up for this. A lot of people have paid millions of dollars to do this already. So I'm pretty sure there will be a colony on Mars by the year 2049. But I don't want to be one of the colonists. I don't want to go to Mars. I think it's going to be a very, very harsh environment. And I think most of us are going to be a lot better off living here on Earth, even with all our problems. I think it's going to be very tough to try to get a colony going on Mars. I don't know how many guys saw the movie The Martian, but I think we can expect a lot of stuff like that. A lot of things to go wrong. I mean, for one thing, Mars has about a hundredth of the atmosphere of the Earth. We'll have to terraform Mars. I mean, they won't do that right away. I don't know if Mars will be terraformed by the year 2049. I don't think it will. I think we'll be living in these big kind of geodesic domes. Well, because the environment on Mars is inhospitable. We're gonna have to go out in spacesuits. It'll be kind of like what the astronauts did on the moon, but it'll be permanent. So it won't be an easy place to live. But I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of pioneers who want to do this. Just not me, anyway. But I'm pretty sure we will have this. Number four, immersive virtual reality. We already have virtual reality. I mean, this is not a long shot, I think, because we already, VR has been improving. It's a pretty new thing. I think we've only had computerized VR for the last 20 years or so. I've only used it a few times myself, but it's pretty damn amazing. I mean, you just put on this thing. I think there's one company, I think it's Apple, that has this thing called an Oculus, and they have different names for it. But basically, you have a headset that just goes over your eyes and your ears. You put on this headset, and then it looks like you're somewhere else. I've tried this. I did this in Denmark last year. I went to the architecture museum. They had an exhibit there where you could put on this headset, and it looked like you were somewhere else. It looked like you were in some futuristic office building. It was pretty amazing. So we can already do this. At least we can do this with our eyes. I think we can kind of do it with our ears too. And it's not just the headset. We have a little handheld device too. I mean, we can play games where we're shooting aliens or doing whatever we want. You shoot laser beams. It looks like you're in some sci-fi scenario. That's just the entertainment aspect. There's also practical applications. You can use it, for architectural design, for simulating, harsh or dangerous environments. Like so basically, you're simulating construction work on a tall building. You can practice it without actually risking your life. I mean, the astronauts did stuff like this, very primitive form of this. When the Apollo astronauts did little simulations before they actually went to the moon. I mean, when you learn to fly a commercial jet, you use a simulator, not as sophisticated as this, but we've been doing simulations for a long time. This is just the most sophisticated type of simulation we currently have. And why do I say this is a future invention? Well, the reason I do is because I don't think we yet have immersive virtual reality where it looks like you're where it's a simulated environment. I'm talking about a completely simulated environment now, like the Matrix. So you could go into one of these. I'll bet you before by the year 2049 we'll be able to simulate an environment so accurately that you won't just have a headset, you'll have a whole body set. And I don't think it'll be just what you see, it'll be what you all your five senses will experience this virtual world. You know, and the only thing I hope doesn't happen is that we fool people into thinking it's the real world. We probably will end up trying to do that at some point, but I don't think we'll have a matrix where people think they're somewhere that they're not. I mean, this will be a great invention as long as people realize that they're in an immersive virtual reality. It's not the real reality. As long as that's the case, then I'm completely happy with this. But as you guys know, every invention, every new technology, can potentially be used for evil as well as for good. So I wouldn't be surprised if this gets abused and some madman tries to create a virtual reality and fool people into thinking it's the real world. I just hope that doesn't happen. But anyway, enough of that. Number three, a practical quantum computer. This is one I really like. I don't know how many of you guys know anything about quantum computation. This is a revolutionary new form of computation. I mean, probably a lot of you guys know that classical computers work with bits and they use Boolean algebra. The kind of basic logic gates, and, or, and not. And that's how all classical computers, just about all computers in the world work this way. And they're called classical computers for that reason. But there's limits to what you can do with classical computers. I mean, you can do a hell of a lot with them. I mean, basically every computation that's ever been done has been done on a classical computer. But there are problems with classical computers. For one thing, they're completely deterministic. That's one reason why a lot of people think that classical computers can't be intelligent because they only do what you tell them to do. They follow a program and then they just follow all the lines of the code in the program. And yeah, we have things that look random. We have things that we can't even predict exactly what's going to happen because we have some very sophisticated programs now, like neural net programming. But keep in mind that all of this is deterministic still. And I don't believe the universe is deterministic. I mean, this has been a very hotly debated philosophical topic for a really long time, whether the universe is deterministic or whether there's free will. I believe in free will. And I don't think that we're computers. Okay, a lot of people think that we're just very advanced computers. We're following our DNA programming. I don't believe that. I think that we have free will to make decisions on our own. But I don't think classical computers do. But here's where I think things get really exciting. These quantum computers, I think, are conscious because they're not deterministic. We don't know exactly what they're going to do. They obey the laws of quantum mechanics, and they don't work with bits. They work with these things called qubits, which is short for a quantum bit. I'm not going to go into the mathematics of what these qubits are, but unlike bits, which can only have two values, 0, 1, qubits can have an infinite number of possible values. They're all their values are these vectors on this thing called a Bloch sphere, and I'm not even going to try to explain what that is. But it's a mathematical construction, and it has a topology of the surface of a sphere. And the values of these points on this Bloch sphere are complex valued quantities. So, um, and I'm not going to say any more about it than that. But here's a picture on the bottom right of an actual quantum computer. We have these things already, and they're getting more and more sophisticated, but they're not practical yet. Nobody's built a practical all-purpose quantum computer, but we're only a few years away from this. And once we have it, it'll completely revolutionize computing. I mean, you might think that computing has almost reached this limit. I think classical computing kind of has, but with quantum computers, we're going to be able to do some computations that are impossible today. I mean, we'll probably be able to solve things like the traveling salesman. Maybe we'll be able to figure out how to find an optimal network of 1,000 cities, which is completely impractical. That would take over the age of the universe with a classical computer. And other things like modeling atoms, molecules, modeling complex molecules. We can't do that with classical computers today. It's too complicated. There's a lot of calculations that are too complicated because we don't know an algorithm can solve it in what's called polynomial time quickly. Factoring is another example. We can't factor super large numbers, and that fact actually is why our current crypto systems are secure, like RSA. And I'm just going to say one more thing about this before I get off of it. With quantum computers, it's already known. There was a mathematician named Peter Shor in 1994. He actually proved, he devised a quantum computational algorithm for factoring large numbers, much, much faster than any classical computer could do it. So if we ever made a quantum computer that could apply Shor's algorithm to factor large numbers, it would make RSA obsolete. RSA is our current crypto system that protects all your passwords, all your bank information, all your personal information. The good news is that there are also going to be quantum algorithms that will encrypt data much more securely, and they won't even be able to be broken by decryption, quantum decryption. But we're going to have to overhaul RSA before any of this gets into place, and I hope we do. Like I said, all these technologies have potential bad consequences. We kind of have to make sure that we don't fall into the trap of having the bad things come true that might. And anyway, so I told you what might go wrong with quantum computing, but I think it's really exciting. And number two, crypto standard cryptocurrency. I think you guys all know about cryptocurrency. Everybody's heard about Bitcoin by now, and there's a lot of other cryptocurrencies out there like Ethereum and Litecoin and I don't know. There's just dozens of hundreds, thousands actually. Even Donald Trump came up with his own. Don't buy his, by the way, because it's a scam. But I mean, I'm not going to go into how cryptocurrency works, but it's all computerized. I think this is a really amazing technology. We already have it. We already have cryptocurrency. We've had it. We've had it since 2009. I think Bitcoin was the first cryptocurrency that came out in 2009. But the reason I'm calling this a future invention is because we still don't have a standard cryptocurrency. Like every country has its own currency, right? The United States has a dollar. The whole Western Europe has the euro. I mean, you name it. Every country has their own currency, but no country yet has a standard cryptocurrency. But I think they will by the year 2049. I'm virtually certain of this. I mean, we won't be using the dollar. I think by the year 2049, the dollar won't even exist anymore. We'll have a new currency. I don't know if it'll be national or international. I think it'll probably be international. But we'll all be using some national or international form of cryptocurrency. It'll just be the standard like the dollar is today. There'll be no more dollar bills, thank God. And we won't have to worry about cutting down so many trees to make our money anymore. I think it'll be wonderful. There's a lot of advantages of cryptocurrency. For one thing, it's immune to inflation. There's only a limited supply. The dollar used to be sort of immune to inflation when you had the gold standard. But, of course, Nixon took us off the gold standard in 1971. Ever since then, we've been having some pretty big inflation. But once we're using cryptocurrency, there'll be no more inflation. And there'll be a lot of other advantages too. The blockchain keeps track of every transaction that ever occurs. I think fraud's going to be a lot harder once we're all using cryptocurrency. As long as we have a benevolent government that runs the blockchain in a responsible way, it won't be possible to steal anymore or to cheat anyone financially. So I think cryptocurrency is a really wonderful thing. Anyway, so that's number two on my list. What's number one? Well, I think number one, and not even close, is the fusion power plant. And the reason I say this is because I think we're going to need fusion power by the year 2049 if we're going to survive as a species. And that might sound pretty like a pretty bold statement, but I think I have to justify what I just said. The world population already is like 8 billion, and it's still growing. I don't think it's going to grow that much more. It'll probably top off around 10 billion. I don't think it's going to go much higher than 10 billion by the year 2049. But our energy demands are growing. I mean, the whole world's becoming industrialized now. So our energy demands are getting higher and higher. Meanwhile, we're using up, we've used up just about all of our fossil fuels. There's only enough probably oil to last another 30, 40 years. I mean, we could get more by fracking, but we're already doing enough damage to the environment. We don't want to, add to that by fracking, and maybe causing horrible volcanic explosions all over the world and earthquakes and all that shit. We got to get off fossil fuels, okay? I know, it's not going to be that easy because there's still a lot of money in making them and burning them and using machines that rely on them. But if we keep doing that, we're going to destroy ourselves. And, through climate change, we already know about climate change, and it is real, no matter what you guys think. We've known this since the 1950s. Climate change is real and it's caused by man. And the current estimate I've heard is in the next 3 years, we're going to reach the tipping point with global warming, where the Earth's atmosphere is going to warm up so much that it's going to melt the polar ice and it's going to flood all the coastal cities. The sea level will rise about 100 feet. That's going to happen. That's going to be a big disaster. But there'll be a lot more disasters if we don't get fusion power because we won't have enough power to meet our energy needs. Okay, and not only will we destroy our planet with climate change, but we'll run out of all the energy we need to function as a society. Unless we get, I think we should have had a Manhattan Project to build the world's first fusion power plant. We probably could have had this. Probably during the 20th century. I think we could have had fusion power probably by the 1970s if we'd been working on it. But we weren't. You know, and now we're going to have to. And they say necessity is the mother of invention. And I think this is going to be a prime example of that. We're going to need the fusion power plant as badly as we needed the printing press to get out of the Middle Ages, to get out of the Dark Ages. And we're going to have a horrible Dark Age if we don't build this thing. Okay, I don't want to live through a Dark Age. I even have a quote in my spiritual journey. I say, I will not allow another dark age on my watch. So I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that the world's first fusion power plant gets built before I die. I'll be very happy to see it built. And I'll be happy to see a lot of other things happen too. But anyway, enough preaching about all this stuff. So that's what I consider what I think will be the top 5 inventions of the next 25 years, the very near future. Anyway, thank you for watching. Keep thinking, and I'll see you guys next time.